And joining us now, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, who's become the key swing vote in Congress. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Hey, Chris, it's always good to be with you. Thank you for having me.
On Friday, you held up this COVID relief package for the better part of 10 hours over a dispute on unemployment benefits. Were you really prepared to tank this bill, President Biden's top legislative priority, if you didn't get what you wanted?
Absolutely not. That's not how negotiations should go, and that should never be the intent of anybody. There was nothing that I wanted more than to have a balanced bill. And that was something that came into it the last minute. I thought it was something that more than what we ever agreed on or intended. And when they talk about this being just strictly a Democrat bill and no bipartisan, I work with my colleagues and my friends on the Republican side for the last month all the way through. A lot of the things I was able to get into that bill and target the bill the way we talked about came because of negotiations and talk with my Republican and Democrat colleagues. So when that happened, Chris, I just said, hold on. If we stay at $300 for unemployment, it's seamless. No one misses a paycheck, not at all. And basically, we were doing so much more with child tax credits. We were helping every family. And there's got to be a balance. And, you know, I'm in that moderate middle, I guess. It's not real crowded, Chris, I can assure you. But we just try to make that all come to fruition, and it did. And that's the way negotiations should go.
Senator, if you had all this Republican input into the bill, if you've been talking to them for a month, why didn't any of your Republican colleagues vote for it? Was it just pure politics?
Well, no, it wasn't just my politics or Democrat politics. It was maybe a little bit more than what they thought they could have done on the amount of money that was going and investing. What we were able to target, we strung it out. We didn't just throw it all at one time. So we were able to say, okay, first time in history, now a little town or community or a county, wherever it be in America, can have some control of their destiny, fixing water and sewer, internet service. It's going to go out to 2024 on that. The tranches of money going out, helping people long term, fixing the school systems, making them safe. All the things. There might have been more than what they thought was needed at this time, but truly, they had input with me, and they knew that, and we worked together, Democrats and Republicans, until the final passage, and then it was more than what maybe they could have voted and supported. But they did have input, I can assure you.
But let's talk about the bill and this question of the amount of aid that you gave. The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office came out with an estimate that the economy was down only $600 to $700 billion because of the pandemic, and yet this bill gives $1.9 trillion, triple almost what the CBO says you really need. That raises the question, one, is this bill going to overheat the economy and create inflation? And two, as you point out, it isn't all just this year. It's out 4, 5. Some of the money doesn't get spent till 2030. So is this really COVID relief, or is this a Democratic wish list?
No. COVID relief is more than just the vaccines. The vaccines is the most urgent thing we can do. Keeping people able to stay in their homes is absolutely as urgent as anything else we do. And we did all of that. COVID relief means, are you going to be able to move on, have the economy move on as strong as you want to, not have a lapse in that? That's why we were able to target it and move it out some. I'm hoping the economists look at that too. President Biden was concerned because he was there in 2009. I was not. I was still a governor at that time when they did the Recovery Act, and they thought they didn't do it quick enough. I basically reminded people that was a financial collapse. This is a healthcare pandemic. It's much different. We will come out of this. I want to make sure the workforce is ready to go too, Chris, and that's why we wanted to make sure that we did basically just throw everything at one time. We're going to make sure that we're recovering in 2022 also, so we don't have a lapse or a relapse.
But what about this argument that the economy is only down $700 billion only, but it's down $700 billion, and you're spending $1.9 trillion, and that you may end up overheating the economy and causing inflation, sir?
Well, I hope we don't. I don't think we will, because, again, I've said we spread it out. We didn't throw it all at one time. If they're saying we're going to spend $1.9 trillion on top of what we already spent in this one year, There might be some concerns about that, or there should be, I'm sure. I'm concerned now more about the debt that we're accumulating, and we've been accumulating through all different types of administrations. It's time to get our financial house in order. I'm in that moderate middle, and common sense is not real common sometimes in Washington, but we can come together. We have to. So we're watching this very carefully, but I can assure you, we have helped every segment of society right now, more so than ever before with this piece of targeted legislation. And I'm going to be monitoring and watching as close as long as my other friends will too.
You keep talking about the moderate middle. Do you like being the most powerful member of Congress, the swing vote in a 50-50 Senate? Do you like that, sir?
No, I do not. And I did not lobby for this, did not seek it out. The bottom line is I am who I am, and I've always been that person that tried to find the middle of common sense. My state of West Virginia expects that. They know me that. They know me as that. They're good people, and we just try to do things in a rational, common sense way. So I've said this about power, Chris. I've seen people who've had power that have abused it. I've seen people that sought power that destroyed themselves trying to get it. And I've seen people that seize the moment. If I can seize this moment and start healing our country, helping our president bring our country together, listening to all sides, and making a decision that doesn't intend to harm anybody, and don't play the tribal politics. Just not who I am. And I am who I am. I'm not going to change. And I think that hopefully people understand that, and they give me the flexibility and understand that. And I appreciate that. I know it's difficult for some people to understand. This is who I am. I'm just Joe from West Virginia.
Well, let's talk about just Joe, because you have staked out this position, and you were doing it in November, right after the election. I want to put up some of the positions you've taken breaking with your party. You said early on you would not be the 50th Democrat to end the filibuster. You'd not be the 50th Democrat to pack the Supreme Court. And so far, whether it's the $15 minimum wage or Neera Tanden's nomination, you've broken with your party. You just put up, you just said the quote. I was going to put it up on the screen because you said it before about power and what it can do to people. The question I guess I have, here's the quote. I have watched power destroy people, good people, because they abused it. Look, I love talking to you, Senator, but you are on 4 Sunday shows today, and the question I have is, are you enjoying your position of power maybe a little too much?
I sure hope not. Oh my goodness, then I would be, that would be horrible. That's not, no. I want to make sure people understand. I am in that common sense middle. That's who I am. It happened to come down to 50-50. This doesn't happen that often in our political posturing or our governing. And I hope it doesn't come around again for a long time. We need to find a way to work together. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not taking advantage of any moment at all, but if I can seize the moment and make you understand, hold on. We're not going to just blow things up. We're not going to destroy the Senate the Founding Fathers decided would be the most deliberate body, unusual from any other form of government in the world and the history's ever known. Seize the moment and fix what has gone wrong. Why did we go so right and so left? We don't run our lives from the extreme. You always try to find that moderate middle to make decisions, to run your life, to enjoy your family, to make sure that you're able to prosper and move forward. You can't do that from the extremes. That's all. And now we've pushed it apart. Maybe it's social media. I don't know what's doing it. But when people can talk about people without looking them in the eye, shaking their hand and giving them their word, and that's who you are, and stick with that, I don't know. Maybe it's old-fashioned West Virginia. It's the way I was raised, Chris.
So, Senator, let me ask you one last question, because going forward, one of the things that you staked out very early on, and I only got about 2 minutes here,
okay,
is that you would not end the filibuster. The question I have is, would you consider, if the Republicans just won't go along with anything, reforming the filibuster? For instance, the filibuster doesn't apply now to either budget rules, that's why you have this reconciliation, budget issues, or to nominations. Would you consider extending exemptions to other issues? Or would you consider going back to the old filibuster, sort of like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Jimmy Stewart, where you want to filibuster, it's not an automatic 60 votes, you got to stay on the Senate floor and keep talking?
The filibuster should be painful. It really should be painful, and we've made it more comfortable over the years. Not intentionally, maybe it evolved into that. Maybe it has to be more painful. Maybe you have to stand there. There's things we can talk about. But Chris, whenever you take away in the Senate the ability for the minority, whoever it may be, Democrats or Republicans, to have input. Why do you have 2 senators in a Rhode Island and 2 senators in a New York or California? Why is there one body that treats everyone, hopefully, the ability to intervene, the ability to be involved, the ability to represent, no matter how large or small? That's so the big person doesn't take advantage of a smaller person or a person in not just stature, but in their position. That's what this is all about, and I'm going to fight for that.
But just to be clear, with 30 seconds left,
sure,
you would consider making it a lot harder to invoke the filibuster so that you just don't automatically have 60 votes that you need for any legislation.
I'd make it harder to get rid of the filibuster. I'm supporting the filibuster. I'm going to continue to support the filibuster. I think it defines who we are as a Senate. I'll make it harder to get rid of it, but it should be painful if you want to use it. You should make sure the place works to where, okay, I want to work with you. How can we do this? How do we move forward? My Republican friends are my friends. They're not my enemies. And my Democrats is my colleagues. They're not my enemy either. That's my caucus. Together, we've got to make this place work, and it should be harder to invoke pain. It should be painful for us. Don't make it painful for the other side.
Senator Manchin, thank you. Thanks for your time after a very busy few days, and we'll be watching the bill's progress on the Hill this week.
Thank you, Chris. It's a great piece of legislation. It's going to help Americans for a long time.
Thanks you again.